You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Well, I was born and raised in Carlsbad, New Mexico, and when I was real young, I grew up in town, but when I was about 8 or 9, we moved out to the farm. My dad had been farming for his family. I went to a rural country school, Otis School, through 8th grade. Then I went into town for mid-high and senior high. And I have 2 brothers and a sister, and my parents. Education was always stressed for us to pursue further education.
I was born in Denver, but really grew up in Carlsbad, New Mexico also. And it was interesting because I didn't meet Susan until she was a senior in high school and I was a junior. And we met working at Kentucky Fried Chicken, where we both had jobs. I cooked it and she sold it. So we made a successful tag team, I think. We sold a lot of chicken, I know that. I grew up in a family of 4 also. I've got 2 brothers and a sister, and 2 wonderful parents who are still living, and they're at a point in their life where they're struggling with health issues, but they raised, I think, some great kids.
Growing up, I was in 4-H, and I participated in some contests or conferences, and when I was in high school, they were held at New Mexico State, and that's the first time I came to Las Cruces in New Mexico State. I was comfortable here, so in choosing a college, I could either go to UNM or NMSU, and I chose NMSU.
And John, why New Mexico State University?
I was following Susie. But no, I mean, New Mexico State was a choice of a lot of the students there in Carlsbad, and I was fortunate enough to get an academic scholarship here. And so that helped out because I was having to pay my own way. And so that scholarship just helped tremendously, along with, working to save up for spending money.
I didn't start out in the College of Business. I thought I wanted to be a television and news broadcaster, and I started out in liberal arts thinking I would pursue a journalism degree. To be honest with you, when I got to the point where I needed to do the TV and news broadcasting class, I was too shy, too reserved of a person. I couldn't do it, and I decided I wasn't cut out for journalism. And the very last day of that semester that I could drop and add classes, I dropped all of the liberal arts stuff and went to the business college because John was in accounting, and I thought I might like that. And so that's how I got to the business college with 60 hours of electives already done.
I remember when we were I think a sophomore in high school, one of our assignments was career. What do you want to do as a career? And so I made it simple on myself. I started with the A's, and so I started with accounting or actuary, and just decided on accounting. I was always good with math. It came kind of natural to me. And so when I came to New Mexico State, I started taking accounting classes and really found out I loved it. And just found that there were some tremendous professors here at New Mexico State. I've got some great experiences, and I didn't really fully appreciate it until after I got out of school and started out in public accounting with one of the big 8 firms and started talking with some of my peers. And they started talking to me about TAs, and I'm like, what are you talking about? What's a TA? And so they told me it was a teaching assistant. And I told them we didn't have any of that at New Mexico State. We had full professors. And there's a couple of professors that really stand out to me. There's really 3. Alan Savage in finance was a tremendous finance teacher, just really made it fun. Jim Bullock in accounting, just really, I took him for the 2 principals classes, and he really helped me build a strong foundation. And then Patricia Christmore, I had 5 classes with her, and she was a very tough teacher, but I learned so much from her, and she really developed a passion for taking accounting very seriously in me. So I'm just grateful for the education I got here at New Mexico State.
I remember Patricia Christmore because think it was her intermediate accounting class that I realized I didn't want to work that hard, but I liked her. I know you liked her a lot.
I loved her.
I remember Alan Savage and Jim Bullock, and oddly enough, one of my jobs after I got out at a bank up here in Las Cruces, Jim Bullock was on the board, and he was my connection into interviewing and getting into this job in the first place, and I continued to see all his knowledge and his usage of it as he served on the board, and I had to give monthly board reports to the board in my job position. I remember the streakers standing out on the balcony of Garcia Hall in late spring and people gathering because someone was going to streak across that area. We went to basketball games. He was quite vocal at the games that sometimes I think we sat near the faculty and a few of them were worried about how intense John was over calls that were made or the action going on.
I thought I was doing quite a good job refereeing the games. No, we really did have a lot of fun because that was back in the early 70s when Lou Henson was the coach, and they still had great teams back then, and it was just a lot of fun and a lot of excitement. So we loved going to the basketball games. I loved going to watch Susie play tennis because she worked out with the tennis team.
I practiced with the tennis team. I was not on the tennis team. We were December 76 graduates and we got married January 7th, 1977.
I got a job, had a job offer actually from two places, Haskins and Sells out in San Diego, which is a big 8 accounting firm, and then what's now KPMG, Peat, Marwick, and El Paso. And so I took the one in El Paso because we wanted to kind of stay in this area just because we love this area. So I actually started probably like January the 10th, just right after we got married. So we spent our honeymoon actually moving to El Paso. And I was fortunate enough to start my career.
Well, I didn't have a job in El Paso when, right away. When we moved here, I had to beat the street and get out and look for one. And I did try working through an employment agency, but they never were sending me to any banks. So I got out on my own and visited some banks and left resumes. And one of them was a savings and loan downtown, El Paso Federal Savings. And about 2 months after I visited them, I received a call to come in for an interview. And I started out as a bookkeeper, $450 a month, and we did not use computers at the time.
Well, I was at Peat Marwick for 3.5 years on the audit side, and my specialty was bank auditing. And I really enjoyed doing that, but after 3.5 years decided to pursue something else. So I went to work for a gentleman in El Paso by the name of Charles Level, and he had the Level Company. And at one point he was one of the top 10 general contractors in the United States. And he's got roots here with some of the buildings that he built here at New Mexico State, Corbett Center and Pan Am Center. So I worked with Mr. Level for 5.5 years and just had a tremendous time. And then I was talking with our insurance agent at that time, and he was looking for a CFO for an insurance agency that had gone, they had bought a large national broker that had an office in El Paso, and so they went from 10 people to about 110 people, literally overnight. And after a couple of years of that, it was kind of chaotic, and he wanted to hire a CFO to come in and help him kind of put things back in order and manage that situation. And so I was able to kind of get in somewhat on the ground floor of that. And so I find myself 25 years later still at the insurance agency and as a part owner.
I had a choice, found 2 job opportunities. One was with a nonprofit and one was with a home health agency, and that was the one I chose. And I worked for them for 3 years, and it wasn't something I enjoyed as much as banking. I decided at one point to quit. I thought our son was, well, he was graduating from TCU with his undergraduate degree. So I figured I'm going to stop working and retire and do some things I have been wanting to do for a while.
Well, when I started with Peat, Marwick in El Paso, I was working with people from Notre Dame, University of Illinois, University of Texas, and some other prestigious universities. And I got to tell you, Dean, New Mexico State graduates could stand toe-to-toe with everybody. And we just didn't know that until we went to go get that experience for ourselves. So I feel very blessed that the quality of the education that we got at NMSU is as good as you can get anywhere.
I agree with that. I never felt, I was always proud to say I went to New Mexico State University. I got my education there. It served me well. I've always felt I've stacked up 100% to anyone else that I was working with.
I would say that develop a passion. Find what your passion is, and then pursue that, knowing that life is going to throw curveballs at you constantly. And so I think life is meant to be experienced fully, and that means that we've got to constantly adapt. Change is inevitable, and I would say that develop a skill set to be willing to continuously learn and adapt to situations, and try not to judge yourself too harshly. Have fun in life. You never really know where it's going to take you.
Well, growing up, I didn't know that women could be professional athletes like in golf. And I think had I known that younger, I might have wanted, as you know, I love to play golf. I think I might have thought about doing something like that. I love accounting, but my passion, at least right now, is with golf.
I really have no regrets at all. As I was mentioning earlier, sometimes you never know where life is going to take you. And I remember the first couple of jobs, I would work for 3.5 years, and then I worked 5 months at a job, and then I went to work for 5.5 years at the level company. And so Susie was kind of looking at me like after 3 to 5 years at my current job going, okay, you're going to make a change again. But I didn't. But I think you just have to learn to adapt to life situation. I've been fortunate to have wonderful, loving parents. Susie also has that background. We've got a wonderful son, and just been so blessed. Well, I think one of the things that Susie and I have come to appreciate is we've been so blessed in many ways. And a big part of that's been the education that we've got here at New Mexico State. And so when we had an opportunity years and years ago to start giving back to the university, we started out small. I think the first thing we gave to was either Dr. Bullock's or Dr. Savage's endowment fund. And we started out small, and all of a sudden we look up, and we've been contributing for over 20 years. So I think it's important to give back to the university. Start out small, what you're comfortable with, but don't be afraid to take the plunge.
Well, I've enjoyed reconnecting with the university after we worked for a while and raised our son, and he went to college and we went to orientation with him. We thought, wow, how neat, wouldn't we like to go back to school?
Yeah.
So we've enjoyed the opportunities that we've been able to share here at New Mexico State, whether it's the Business Advisory Board, and I'm on the PA board. I just feel really good about the future because I've served in these capacities and have met students and have seen what the curriculum is, and I'm just so excited. I think that we're in good hands for the future.